So hungry. Hello and welcome everyone to today's slightly more relaxed, video. Yes, I'm trying to speak, but words are not coming to my brain. Maybe I need more oxygen. But today I want to do something that I haven't really done before, I think, which is talking about restriction list predictions, which we know it's coming. There's a new restriction list in Japanese on August 14th, and as I'm recording this, it's August 9th. I'll probably have it up August 10th. And I've been just kind of thinking what could possibly get restricted, and what could possibly get restricted mostly in premium, because I don't really think they're going to do anything about standard. I think it's way too early. Sure, there's some decks that top a bit more than others, like not a bit more, like OTT does get more tops, and you usually see one OTT per team in team tournaments too. So I think it's kind of an outlier right now. But things like Spike Brothers and Dark Regulars, things like Spike Brothers and Grand Blue are really catching up to it, and now slowly Dimension Police as well, and Kagero too. So I think those clans are catching up, so I think it's not going to be that big of an issue. So I think Standard just kind of like, it stays quite well balanced, and if anything, rebalances itself, so I don't think there's any need for a restriction list, at least not until WGP and BCS season is over. I think we can leave it at that for sure. But anyway, about my actual thoughts on what I think is going to get restricted. Trickstar Reincarnation to 1. Okay, sorry, I've been playing a bit too much Yu-Gi-Oh! Lately, but honestly, I think they're going to do something similar like the Jumping Jill Purple Trapezist restriction, where you can't use 2 cards in the same deck at once. And what I think those will be are primarily Ichikishima and the new Silent Tom. I don't think they're the biggest problem. Like, I think you can play around it. A lot of what G was is seeing problem cards and finding ways to play around them efficiently. And so I think Premium looks kind of similar, except what you need to play around is like 300 times worse. But you can still play around it. So, but I think because so many people are complaining, and not just in the West, also in Japan, people are not happy with Ichi-Tom, and I've talked to tournament organizers in Japan, and they tell me like, yeah, Standard is doing fine, but people really don't want to play Premium right now. And so I think just to counter that and to encourage people to play more Premium, they're probably going to do the limitation of you either use Ichishima or you either use the new Silent Tom in Oracle Think Tank, so that way the OTT decks in Premium will go back to what the old OTT was. And what do you know, the old OTT wasn't really part of the top meta until, this interaction. So I think it's going to change up the Premium tier lists and everything a little bit, if you believe in tier lists. I know not everybody does. So while, I know people in the comments will say like, oh, but it's not really that big of a problem, it's okay, it's just, it's just another interaction you need to work with. But, some people really complain, and I think Bushiroad cares about that, so they'll probably take care of it. And in that style, I'm not sure if they will do the same with Phantom Black and Zoa. Post-production DF here once again in a very short while. Here I meant to say not Phantom Black but Antlion, but I think the lack of food in my stomach and the lack of everything else in my brain probably led me to saying the wrong thing, so for the rest of this segment just assume Antlion. I think again, out of the concern for the greater good of the player base, they might do the thing where you cannot use Phantom Black and Zoa in the same deck, but I think that's more of a fringe scenario, because Ultimate Stride, as it is something that, you don't consistently go into, whereas having a grade 2 that you play 4 of in a deck that goes through the deck really fast, and a Stride that you can go into any time, is a lot more common than an Ultimate Stride that can only come into play at a certain time, and a grade 3 that, to my knowledge, you can't actually search in a deck that, well, I guess Gridora does draw a fair bit, but I'm not sure if it's as fast. I'm not sure like how consistent the Zoa combo is. And in general, Premium there's been more Luar topping lately than anything, so I'm not really sure. But so those are kind of like situations where it's like you either use one or the other, I think, in terms of the restriction list. And then I think the other part of the the restriction list that might be like rebalancing numbers, I think maybe Tarna could go to 2. So you can only use 2 copies of Tarna, maybe, because I don't think there's a point to do the whole, like, you can't use Tarna in Alfred decks. I don't think they're going to do that, because I think in some way Bushiroad likes the little interactions that they have, and they think, as long as they don't get too crazy like Ichi-Tom. But I think with Tarna, it's like, sure, it's a problem card, but it's not as a consistent one, and if you hit it down to 2, then it's even worse, because then they only have 2 copies to go through anyway, and that makes the whole Alpha turn not as scary. They could even bump it down to 1, but I think they wouldn't do that, because then it's a bit too fringe of a scenario. It's like putting Laurel at 1, which they did, so they could do this as well, but, you know, I don't think they would ban it overall, for sure, definitely not. Bushido doesn't really do that. And then I think the other number rebalance that they could potentially do is put Mick back to 4. I think they didn't put Mick back to 4 beforehand because they were maybe afraid of the new Grand Blue interacting too well with the Night Rose support, or just being too good in Premium. But it hasn't really been doing that much in Premium, at least from the results we've seen. So I think in that regard, they can just lift the limit for Mick for now, and then if they see that it becomes a problem in the future, they can just restrict it again. Like, there's nothing preventing them from unrestricting it for like 6 months, and then restricting it again if it becomes a problem. But I don't think it's going to become a problem, because Mick is plus 10k, which is, back then it was a big deal. But with the new trigger values, I don't think it's even that big of an issue. So I think there's no reason to keep Mick restricted, just put it back to 4, honestly. And then the last thing that I think is going to be part of the restriction list is future-proofing. So I think just how they future-proof the Purple Trapezist and Jumping Jill combo, you know, making it infinite, I think they'll also, and how they future-proof Laurel in a way, but not really. I think maybe they'll do some Angel Feather future proofing, but not in the sense of, I think what people are thinking is like, oh, the interaction between Protect and, you know, cards that can put a card from hand into damage is too strong. I think that's what they're trying to do. It's like how Grand Blue is Protect because you discard cards with the Protect marker. So because Angel Feather is known for healing, I think it's kind of normal to assume that that's, you know, the reason why they even clarified that before we even knew when the Angel Feather support is coming is because that might be a key mechanic for Angel Feather, is to heal away your damage by using Protect markers. So I think there's a chance that it's going to work that way, but I think they might still do some future-proofing with no-seal cards, because they have been a problem in a lot of premium tournaments to begin with, because of the essence of no-seal Gize, which, you know, it's still a consistent and strong deck, I think. And, you know, whether Bushwood sees that as a problem is a different thing, but I think, again, it's something that the player base at least saw as a problem for a long time. I'm not sure if people are... I think people are too busy complaining about Ichitom to complain about no-seal Gize as much anymore, but I think if there's some potential strong combo with the new cards and the current no-seal cards, there's a chance they could do some future-proofing, whether it's restricting a number of cards that you can use to 1, or to do the whole Jumping Jill Purple Trapezist thing again. I think they might also future-proof Wonder Azel, because I think if they restrict Tarna, I think it depends. If they restrict Tarna, then they'll also do something about Azel, Wonder Azel. But if they don't do anything to Tarna, then I think they won't touch Wonder Azel either, and then they'll just be like, oh, well, this is premium, these are the kind of interactions you get, so work with them, you know? But I think, you know, getting triple force with Tarna is one thing, but getting the ability to get 3 extra attacks on the same turn with Wonder Azel is a bit different. So I think it's gonna depend. If Tarna gets hit, I think I could see Wonder Azel getting hit, but if Tarna doesn't get touched, then I think they might leave Wonder Azel for now, and then if it gets out of hand, they might restrict it again. Again, this depends if they're even, you know, what they're going to do with Premium to begin with. And I think they might do a few more, like, infinite loop prevention stuff, like how they did with, like, Purple Trapezist and Jumping Jill, you know, where it was an infinite loop, and they prevented it before we even knew when the set releases, I think. We knew that Pale Moon Super was coming, but we didn't know when at that time, so I think they could do that, but it won't be for any of the 7 clans we don't know about yet, so it could only be from the clans that we know about so far. They wouldn't tell us about some random Bermuda thing, like that could infinite loop, because we don't know when Bermuda support is coming. And we don't even know, you know, it hasn't been announced or anything. And the reason why I'm saying this is because the restriction list news comes out August 14th, but we find out about the next sets to come out after the Ultra Rare one on August 18th. So I think we're going to find out about Bermudas at that time. We're going to find out about maybe Genesis, maybe Gear Chronicle, maybe Link Joker, but there's 7 clans left that we don't know about yet, at least according to my calculations, because first BT plus 2 EBs is 10 clans, 1 BT 14, another EB 17. So we have 24 clans, so another 7. So, you know, that's 1 more extra booster, 1 more main booster, and that's it. So I think we're gonna get a bit of that here and there just to see, you know, where things are going. But back on the point, I don't think we're gonna have any of these future-proofing restrictions for any of the remaining 7 clans just yet. I think they'll do another restriction list maybe to future-proof those after we know when the support is coming, because Blizzard has no reason to rush these kind of things, you know? So I think that's about it for my predictions for the restriction list. Obviously, when the restriction list does come out, I will make a video about it. You know, I'll be surprised if any of these are right. Maybe the Ichitom one, but everything else I was just kind of thinking like, oh, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. But I think especially, I don't expect anything for Standard, honestly. I'll be really surprised if there's a restriction in Standard. Like, Oracle Think Tank just doesn't feel like that big of a problem, and Solomon Vanguard already mentioned in his video where you can't take away anything from Oracle Think Tank in Standard, because then you just disable the deck basically, because if you take away the Deer, they lose their win con. If you take away Imperial Daughter, they lose their consistent mid to late game. If you take away Amaterasu, there goes their big numbers on the side, and their early game as well. So it's like you can't really take away anything, because then they don't have any tools to replace it with. So I think until the second wave of reboot support comes out, I don't think they're going to hit anything for Standard. I really don't think so. So I think maybe after WGP season and BCS season, then I could see something in Standard, but they've been working quite hard to keep things balanced, and I think OTT is holding up, but I think it's going to start to, you know, either fall down or other clans will go up to its level over time. So that's going to be it for this video. Taking a little break from just sitting and talking to my mic. I honestly miss just sitting down and talking to the camera. It's been a while, you know, and I say this every time. I just haven't been doing it as much lately, but part of it is because we had insane heat wave. Well, not heat wave, it was just really hot outside for a while, so I couldn't just like sit down in a closed room with that light staring at me when it's so hot. So now it finally cooled down so I can film a few of these videos finally. So there is that, but on that note, I think it's going to be it for me today. Don't forget to click the good old bell button and check out the social medias in the description and join the Discord channel if you haven't already. Eventually, when they bring the community member thing to Europe, I might enable one of those too. You know, we don't have it in Europe. I think it's just an NA thing. But, you know, when that happens, you know, I'd like to do that, but we'll see. But for now, that's all for today. So, on that note, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.